Let's go ahead.
Hey, buddy. Just from checking the lineup, Trevor and Charlie not in there today. Just a you want to break them in slowly this spring?
You know they reported about 5 days. Their first workouts were about 5 days ago. So I think it's prudent to give them a few more days. We had 14 or 15 guys in that first wave of players with the pitchers that got a lot of work in, got a lot of time on the field, a lot of extra batting practice prior to Chuck and Trev arriving on the position player date, which was the 19th. And their first day on the field was the 23rd. So I think here it is the 28th. We felt as though collectively it was best just to give them a few more days.
Hey, earlier this week, I think it was, you mentioned that Chris Owings has looked really good. Obviously, coming off last year, coming down and making the team. What have you seen out of him so far? And what type of positional versatility do you want him to show this spring?
Well, he looks great. I mean, the body's firing. He's moving really well. The arm, the bat, the legs, everything is showing up. He's fully healed from his hamstring injury last year. He's in a great spot physically. So, second part of that question, his versatility will enable him and enable us to take advantage of that by moving him all over the field. Could be second, short, third. Outside chance that we could put him at first at times. He's comfortable there, so he's comfortable anywhere in the infield, including first base. And he has the capability to move to the outfield too. So, that's a big advantage for us to be able to move CO around and get him, potentially a lot of playing time.
Buddy.
Patrick Saunders.
Good morning, buddy.
Morning, Patrick.
Just a follow-up to a couple of Thomas's questions. I'm probably going to ask you this every day.
That's fine, and I'll answer it every day, Patrick.
Thank you, buddy. Any injury news of note, or anybody who's limited at this point in camp?
No.
Okay, good. Getting back to Chris Owings for a moment, since you've been with the Rockies, I think it's safe to say that you've liked having that type of player on your roster, a veteran guy, versatility, etc. Is that something as a big league manager that you always really liked, to have that kind of presence and versatility?
Yeah, I mean it's so big, for a team, for a ball club. I think you ask any manager that, that versatility. When the season starts and you start, playing games and the schedule's right there in front of you, and things happen, right? Guys get banged up, guys need a day, guys sprain an ankle and they're out for a few days. You never know where that's going to come from, what position. And if you have a guy or guys who are able to move around and do it comfortably and feel good about it on defense, and doesn't affect their psyche, it's awesome to have those types of players. And to name a few, the Dodgers have always had a couple with Chris Taylor and Kiki Hernandez. We have a few now that we feel real good about. I think every team strives to have that versatility, and we have a number of guys who fit that bill.
We've touched on this a little bit earlier when camp first started. How important is it going to be during camp to make sure that your two fairly young new catchers really get a connection with this pitching staff? And not only that, not only the importance of it, how does that come about during spring training?
Well, it's important. You know how I feel about that pitcher-catcher relationship. But honestly, it started last year. It started last spring training for Elias, and it started 4 years ago with Dom, when Dom was in big league camp. Most of the relationship building is done during spring because it offers you a great opportunity in in a relaxed setting, and also in competition once games start, to forge those relationships. You have plenty of time to have conversations with the pitchers. So, and we make sure that happens. From a coaching standpoint, players are here at 6:37 in the morning. They don't leave a lot of times until 5 at night. And within those hours, we're having meetings, we're having discussions, we're having conversations, we're having teaching sessions. We're coaching, and the catchers are a big part of those conversations with the pitchers. So it is, the comfort level that Dom has with these guys is already in place. Now, has it happened during major league games? Not so much. But, that's a fairly easy transition because the foundation is there. Elias is, behind a little bit in that regard because he's only spent 1 year with us, and it was a sort of a weird year last year, right? A shortened spring training down here in Scottsdale, summer camp in Denver, and then right into 60 games. And up until the last few weeks, we used Tony and we used Butera as our catchers. So, but he'll catch up. I mean, he's doing a lot of work now with the guys, and again, it's just through a lot of different avenues to build those relationships.
And one more from me. Josh Fuentes, we know what a nice story he was and how well he played the tail end of last season. But his walk rate is very, very low. He says it doesn't really matter to him. At least that's what he told us. But does that matter? I mean, it's significantly lower than the major league average.
Right.
Is that something he needs to work on?
Well, I think it sort of coincides with the importance of getting on base. Now, if Josh is able to hit his way on, that's awesome. That's great. But I think Josh also knows that over time, we got to make sure that the pitchers don't exploit that by throwing pitches out of the zone, and Josh chases them. So there comes a point when the pitchers are going to notice that and maybe start expanding the zone and see how Josh reacts. So if Josh keeps to his approach, keeps to his plan of and his goal is to obviously hit strikes and take balls. That's the that's sort of the fundamental part of hitting. We'll see where this goes as time plays out. But again, it sort of ties back to just total on-base percentage. And if Josh can hit his way on base, that's great, and be productive with his batting average and knocking in runs and advancing runners and situational hitting, that'll be just fine.
Thank you, buddy.
You got it.
Tracy?
Hey, buddy, on the versatility aspect with a position player, does the way pitching staffs have expanded on the roster, is that a big part of needing more versatility from a guy off the bench?
Again, I think you want, that definitely helps. Gone are the days of, 15 position players and 10 pitchers. The shorter bench with more pitchers, it definitely increases the advantage of having a guy who can do multiple things, that he can move around the diamond. And also be productive as an offensive weapon as a pinch hitter in the National League now that, the pitcher's back in play as a hitter. It definitely helps.
Another question is, when you were in Kansas City, you had a manager who would look at the guys that he knew were going to be in the rotation, like you have 4, and he would use the other guys to start games so that they would see more of the core lineup. You've got a handful of guys looking for that 5th spot in the rotation. Would you be inclined to take that approach and just make sure your regulars 4 just get work in as opposed to who they face?
Well, we got to make sure that's here you've probably noticed that I know the pitching schedule hasn't come out for you guys, but the first 5 or 6 games, you will see other guys starting games and pitching the early part of games. The guys who are vying for potentially that 5th starter spot, you'll see Chi-Chi, You'll see Derek Rodriguez. You'll see Castellani. Today, Gomber's going to pitch a couple innings. Mujica. You'll see these guys, start these games. But on the backfields, Marquez and Kyle and Antonio and Jon, they'll be getting their work in because they have to get their pitches thrown in some sort of competition and simulated games on the backfields to build their pitch count and get ready for April 1st. So eventually those guys will show up. You'll see them in games, but there will be times when you might see them, not pitch in a regular exhibition game, but they'll be, maybe on a backfield pitching in a B game or pitching in an inter-squad game.
Drew Kreisman, go ahead.
Hi, buddy. How are you?
Hi, Drew.
Wanted to ask you about your bullpen today. First of all, how is Obi? How's Scott Oberg doing? What is his status? How's he look?
Progressing well. I think he's going to throw a live batting practice here in the next day or two, but he's coming into camp in a great frame of mind, both mentally and physically. He's thrown 3 or 4 bullpens. We'll progress him to a batting practice against our guys. He's doing the progression on his timeline, which is the same things that we ask our regular relievers to do. Maybe with not the rest in between. But Scott will have a month to get where he needs to be ready for opening day. But we just wanted to be a little bit more cautious with him the first couple weeks. I mean, he's about a week behind, but that's not a big deal for us because we can catch him up to get ready for April 1st. But he's doing great.
As far as the closer role goes with him and Bard, is that something you'd like to have a designation on? Is it something you're open to be fluid with? Something where you need both those guys? One of them's got to be a fireman anyway. So
yeah, they all got to pitch well, Drew. It doesn't matter whether it's the 6th, 7th, 8th, or 9th inning. We need all our guys to pitch well. But I think it's nice to have a guy at the end that you can count on that has the 9th inning, or at least has the last few outs. If you have a good starting pitcher and you have a good closer, it's a pretty good start to a bullpen. And then the other pitchers can fill in those innings and get those outs as needed. But I think that's always a pretty good start to a pitching staff that can be successful.
One I've got for you there, still in the bullpen. What have you seen from Michael Gibbons? We only got to see about 9 innings out of him on the MLB Diamond last year. We know his resume in Baltimore. What have you seen that's been kind of the difference between those things?
Well, again, this is a solid pro. He's had a very solid career as a big league reliever. He's approaching spring training in a very professional manner. A way a veteran goes through the early part of spring here. He's getting in shape. He's getting his arm in shape. He'll show up here in a game, probably within the next 5 or 6 days to pitch an inning. But the arm looks good. He's throwing very free and easy. Body feels good. He's going through all the regiment that we put our guys through. He's doing great. So, our expectation that, he will perform to his track record as a major league relief pitcher. Good numbers, good numbers in Baltimore, and threw some good innings for us last year, albeit only 9.
Thanks, buddy.
Yep.
All right, go to Kevin Henry and then finish up with Thomas. Kevin, go ahead.
Morning, buddy. I wanted to ask you about the potential for the shortened games this year. Does that put more emphasis on what you see in the inter-squad games and in the backfields, knowing there may not be as many outs to go around?
Yeah, well, it's who that hurts, Kevin, is a lot of the younger players that you like to see in competition, right? Some of the younger pitchers in camp that you might be able to squeeze a few innings in, in a big league exhibition game, in a ballpark that's not this year but filled with fans to get a look how they handle it and to watch them in a ball game. So those outings are going to be limited to those guys, and also you lose some at bats as well. some of the younger kids in camp, whether it's, Ryan Valade, whether it's Jamison Hanna, some backup catchers that we have, Willie McIver, Brian Servin, Max George. I mean, these guys might not get in games because the innings have been cut down. And as we get into the middle part of March, when we are playing 9 innings, that's the time when your players that you project to make the team, or the guys fighting for spots, are playing deeper in games, getting more at bats, and the pitchers are throwing more innings. So it just squeezes out the younger players, some of the prospects that maybe you want to see. That's who it hurts. In big league games. But, we'll try to mix in enough B games with other clubs. They're in the same situation we are. They got to get their players ready for the minor league season, albeit it could be the AAA season to start with, and maybe the AA on down, they're going to start later. But, it cuts the opportunities for a lot of younger players.
Thanks, buddy.
All right, Thomas.
Yeah, we kind of following up on discussing with about CO there earlier. Who's your best other shortstop other than Trevor?
Well, I think I think CO has the most experience. He's solid. I think he's a very solid defender. He can play short. Hampy, grew up a shortstop. He feels comfortable there. Alan Trejo plays a good shortstop. Eric Stamets is a steady glove as well. Those guys are in camp, so. We feel good here in spring training with the coverage that we have with those 4 guys.
Want to look at Rogers at all at short? Or do
you we might pop. Yeah, I mean, he can play short. I don't know whether we need to look at it. He's played it his whole career. It's probably best that we put him at second or third as opposed to short.
Thank you, buddy.
Okay, Thomas.